Let's go to something a little bit pleasant, more pleasant. That is Louis Sullivan. And with Sullivan, I have a problem. I admire him so much. I love Sullivan so much that I kind of neglected him. I know it's a paradox, but this happens, you know. Uh, um, I don't know exactly psychologically how to explain this. My presentation on him is not satisfactory, and I apologize from the very beginning, but I will still make it because I think Sullivan deserves, and I say it again, deserves to be known and admired. Uh, so Louis Henry Sullivan, born on September 3rd, but died on April 14th, and that's why we talk about him today, was an American architect and has been called a father of skyscraper and the father of modernism. He was an influential architect of the Chicago School, a mentor to Frank Lloyd Wright, and an inspiration to the Chicago group of architects who have come to be known as the Prairie School. Along with Wright, Henri Hobson Richardson, Sullivan is one of the recognized trinity of American architecture. The phrase form follows function is attributed to him, although he credited the word concept to ancient Roman architect Vitruvius. In 1944, Sullivan was the second architect to posthumously receive the AIA gold medal. Okay, so here is the man. Yeah, called the father of skyscrapers and the father of modernism, at least in the North American context. And together, indeed, with Frank Lloyd Wright and Richardson, Richardson actually being the oldest, they represent the trinity of American architecture. Two pictures from 1890 and from 1920, a change. Sullivan had a strange fate in a way. Architects in general are, live long lives, and if they are not very affluent, in the sense that they are not very rich, but they are not also not, they don't die poor. But this was not the case with Sullivan. Sullivan died almost as a destitute man in a hotel room at 67, and it's very strange somehow his destiny. He was a brilliant man. His writings are beautiful, and I recommend to you to read Kindergarten Chats by him. A very complex and talented man, and very, very deep. In a way, maybe deeper than Frank Lloyd Wright. Frank Lloyd Wright didn't admire many people in his life, not at all. But he admired Louis Sullivan, who was his first employer. He cheated on him because after a few years working for him, he began to steal his clients and work himself for them. And then he was fired after 5 years of working for Sullivan. Frank Lloyd Wright was fired, but he still kept a great affection for. He called him in German, my master, Liebe Meister, my beloved master. He was indeed a master. And somehow the way he looks makes me think a little bit of Lucian Blaga. Not so much when he was younger, when he was older. I begin, that's why I say this presentation is imperfect, and I apologize for it. I begin first with a kind of an aide memoir, some images of his work, and then we'll go chronologically through his works. But this must be said from the very beginning. The man who is considered the father of the skyscraper, or one of the fathers of the skyscraper, and one of the fathers of modernism, look at what ornamentation he arrived at. This is his work. Above, the building is like this. Sorry, the building is like this. It's almost like a European modernism. So you might think a little bit of Mendelssohn. But look at this ornamentation. Why did he feel the need for it? You know, I think we should ask this question. The ornaments in his case are funambulesque. They are, look at this. The same man who said form follows function, whatever if he designed coated Vitruvius, the expression is connected with him. And forget the quotation, but he did contribute to the appreciation of the Cartesian structure of the office tower, and he was one of the fathers of North American modernism, if not the father. But look at what ornamentation uh, he arrived, and again you wonder why. And I don't think the question is without an answer, because these dualities we all have inside ourselves. If the dogmatic one tells you no ornament, actually that dogma says no life. That's what that dogma says. So now we just go through some images of his work, not in a chronological order. Then we'll analyze the buildings one by one chronologically. Look at this. Again, this is a modern architect. This is a box, but look just as this. So why did we? I wonder. Lacaton and Vassal didn't know the work of Sullivan, and not just Sullivan. I mean, I see here, even if it is a bank, and I hate banks because I hate money and money hates me in return, I see a celebration of life through beauty, through ornaments, through contemplation, essentially. It's true, this is not a temple. It might be misleading, but it's about bringing a level of exuberance, of expression into the building. And we looked at that building, but it's true, that building was not a public building, it was a house. But even a house should have a joy in it, and I didn't see joy in that grayish building by Lacaton and Vassal. Really, I didn't. And that perverse opening of two doors and then being unable to go through the opening, to me, is unbelievable. Anyway, look at this cornice. Look at this corner of this building by Sullivan. Why did he need to transform it from a work of man through geometry, through the work of nature, into a tree? We should ask this question. We should also dialogue with the professors and the assistants. Why do you think Sullivan did this? We are talking about one of the geniuses of modernism, Louis Sullivan. Should we just disregard what he did? Should we just think that is nonsense or is irrelevant? No, it's not irrelevant at all. Look at this. Look at what he did here. Why did he do it? Because he didn't want the dryness that Lacaton and Vassal had. That's why he had a nostalgia for nature. He wanted the work of man, meaning his, to become nature-like almost, to begin to vibrate, to move in a way, to grow like a piece of grass, like a blade of grass towards light. He wanted the building to become nature. He was not happy just with the dry geometry. And this terracotta work, look at his drawings. And we say ornaments should have nothing to do with modern architecture. Well, this is the father of modernism, okay? Or one of the very few fathers. And look at what ornament he did. Why aren't here the professors who banished ornament to talk about this? And look at this entrance. Yes, again, it's not a temple, it's a merchant's national bank. But he wanted to have exaltation of the one who enters this building, regardless of the fact that it is a bank, to feel like a human being, exalted by the beauty of the entrance. And it's a creation, it's his creation. Highly ornamental, isn't it? Look at this, Ornaments by the father of modernism. Ornaments, ornaments, ornaments. It's a little musical store, grayish, yes, but the grayness is a little bit different than basals and I mean lacatons and basals because exactly because of the ornaments, like here. Look at this, terracottas. Why did he feel the need for this? Well, the same question we could ask about the beautiful, ceramic tiles of Persian architecture or the architecture of Islam. And, there is a great tradition. Again, we cannot have just structure, structure, structure. No. And now again, if you eliminate these things, what do you get? The box, the dry box. Make ornaments, exasperate your professors. Make ornaments, draw them madly. Get drunk through ornaments. Drink something, Jamaican rum or whatever you want to drink, and begin to draw ornaments and make your professors mad. And if they say something, they say, wait a minute, Professor. Sullivan, the father of modernism, had unbelievable ornaments. Why can't we use them? Could you tell us? If the father did it, why can't the son do it or the daughter? Anyway, we'll come back to these banks. This is just a short and maybe uninspired introduction. I have to change this presentation. Maybe I should read this. The technical limits of weight-bearing masonry had always imposed formal as well as structural constraints. That's about an office tower. Those constraints were suddenly gone. None of the historical precedents were any help, and this new freedom created a kind of technical and stylistic crisis. Sullivan addressed it by embracing the changes that came with a steel frame, creating a grammar of form for the high-rise, base, shaft, and cornice, simplifying the appearance of the building by breaking away from the historical styles, using his own intricate floral designs in vertical bands to draw the eye upwards and emphasize the building's vertical form, and relating the shape of the building to its specific purpose. All this was revolutionary, appealingly honest, and commercially successful. In 1896, Louis Sullivan wrote in a poem, please you students of architecture, write also poems or inner poems. Try to learn to express yourselves beyond the rationalistic, analytical, dry language. It's important to open up your heart, and the poem helps. It is the pervading law of all things, organic and inorganic. This is what he said. Of all things physical and metaphysical. Again, not just physical. He considers also the metaphysical. Exactly that very metaphysical that Cantacuzino talked about when he said the architect is serving man and his gods. Of all things human and all things superhuman. Of all true manifestations of the head, of the heart, of the soul, that the life is recognizable in its expression, that form ever follows function. Unfortunately, this expression, which is well known, was misunderstood very often by his followers. This is the law. Form follows function would become one of the prevailing tenets of modern architects. Sullivan himself, however, attributed the idea to Marcus Vitruvius Pollio, the Roman architect, engineer, and author, who first asserted in his book De Architectura that a structure must exhibit the three qualities of firmitas, utilitas, venustas. That is, it must be solid, useful, beautiful. Beautiful. Don't forget, this credo, which placed the demands of practical use above aesthetics, would later be taken by influential designers to imply that decorative elements, which architects call ornament, were superfluous in modern buildings. But Sullivan himself neither thought nor designed along such dogmatic lines during the peak of his career. This you should know, and this you should fight for. If the father has any importance, and I think a father does have an importance in life in general and in architecture as well. If he was the father of modernism or one of them, we better listen to him and not to the followers, the dogmatic ones. So again, but Sullivan himself neither thought nor designed along such dogmatic lines. And there is so much dogmatism in our schools. Indeed, while his buildings could be spare and crisp in their principal masses, he often punctuated their plain surfaces with eruptions. Eruptions, this is a beautiful word. Eruptions, erupti, eruptions of lush Art Nouveau and something like Celtic revival decorations, usually cast in iron or terracotta, and ranging from the organic forms like vines and ivy to more geometric designs and interlaced, inspired by his Irish design heritage. Terracotta is lighter and easier to work with than stone masonry. Sullivan used it in his architecture because it had a malleability that was appropriate for his ornament. Probably the most famous example is the wreathing green ironwork that covers the entrance canopies of the Carson Fire Scott store, which we saw pictures of, and we'll come back to it in Chicago on South State Street. These ornaments, often executed by talented younger draftsmen in Sullivan's employ, would eventually become Sullivan's trademark. To students of architecture, they are his instantly recognizable signature. Another signature element of Sullivan's work is the massive semicircular arch. Sullivan employs such arches throughout his career in shaping entrances, in framing windows, or as interior design. All of these elements can be found in Sullivan's widely admired Guarantee building, which he designed while partnered with Adler, was an engineer. Completed in 1895, this office building in Buffalo, New York is in the Palazzo style, visibly divided into three zones of design: a plain, wide windowed base for the ground level shops, the main office block with vertical ribbons of masonry rising unimpeded across 9 upper floors to emphasize the building's height, and an ornamented cornice perforated by round windows at the roof level where the building's mechanical units like the elevator motors were housed. The cornice crawls like Sullivan's trademark Art Nouveau vines. Each ground floor entrance is topped by a semicircular arch. And this is the building, a modern building, but not dogmatically modern, since it has these ornamentations which are incredible. The plan, yes, it's the plan of a modern building, 1897, but look at the ornaments. Look at this, the father of modernism. Would you do something like this in school? Of course not. No, for us, the columns are just simple, either square in plan or round, circular. Something like this would be totally inconceivable, maybe even at Studio Forme. But it was done and built by the father of modernism, or one of them. Anyway, but why should we listen to the father now when we can listen to the dogmatic voices of his followers? In my opinion, the father is more important than the followers to begin with, and certainly much more important than the dogmatic ones. Look at this, the father of modernism. He was not happy with just a bare surface. He was not. Look at this. You know, this is a building which is not by him. Well, compare this one with this one, if you can. The world is a labyrinth. The man loved nature, obviously. That's what it is. He loved nature. But he also loved his own culture because he was Irish. And I suggest to you to look for the Book of Kells, which, you know, the Celtic ancient culture, old culture, and there are incredible intricacies, ornamental. Like here, we already saw this. We saw this. We saw this one. We didn't see, but we saw from a different angle. Incredible, isn't it? And this building was built by Sullivan. This indeed is very modern. You know, you would say this is either in Europe or in the United States. It's a very modern building, but we saw some pictures of the entrance with that incredible ornamental work done here. And you can see it a little bit here too. This is in Chicago. Look at this. So the building is like this, and then the entrance in the corner is like this. Isn't it unbelievable? The man had dualities, but as Goethe says in Faust, alas, two souls are dwelling in my heart. And I believe those two souls exist in most of us, if not all of us. We just have to acknowledge them before it's too late, before we end up on Dr. Freud's couch with severe psychological disorders. Now, we go chronologically through his works. Adler and Sullivan. He was hired by Adler, well, became a partner of Adler. Adler started the company and he was an engineer. And they were very, very successful. We start with a tomb from 1887. Yes, at that time, architects designed lots of tombs. This is rather stern, but then, you know, it's about death. It's a tomb. So, an early work, and a house in Wisconsin. This one, I wonder, you know, either at that time Frank Lloyd Wright was already working there as something more of Wright actually than Sullivan. Wright was hired, his first job was in Sullivan's office, or Adler and Sullivan's office. As a very young man, maybe he was not even 20. He left school after two years of, I don't know what kind of a study in a technical school, drafting school. It was not even architecture. And soon he became important for the office, so important that he began to steal jobs from Adler and Sullivan and do them himself. Sullivan even lent him money to build his own house in Oak Park. Anyway, Wright was quite capable of taking care of himself and a man of many hats, as Frank Lloyd Wright was called. The Auditorium building, a famous building in Chicago by Adler and Sullivan. It's all this building. It's huge. Even their office was here in this building, and it's a theater. I had been inside this building. Towards the outside is not so, you know, exciting. But inside it is spectacular, and I understood the acoustics are unbelievable. Apparently, Adler had a great reputation for his great knowledge about sound. But from what I read, he never studied engineering. Certainly not about the sound. So something that was just sheer luck that the sound came out well. Anyway, already large North American buildings. You see here the location of Adler and Sullivan offices, not bad and not very modest either, but you know, they were the creators of this building, and then their own office was here at the top. See, this is what I don't see in Lacaton and Vassal. Here I see clearly a sign of joy, of exuberance. There is color, there is movement, there is, you I'm tired of these grayish rectangular boxes. I'm really tired of them. That's why I keep saying arhitectura berberă e mult mai bună decât poate ar trebui să se dea un premiu Pritzker pentru arhitectura berberă. Și altele, bineînțeles, care sunt la fel de frumoase. Okay, I come back to English. Sorry about this. Ornaments, people, theater. Now we go to a tomb in a Graceland cemetery. Too much exuberance, you know, maybe it's not good. So we have to go to Lacaton and Vassal. But this is not by Lacaton and Vassal because there are ornaments here which do not exist in their work. And you see already the graceful lines of the ornaments of Louis Sullivan. I mean, you know, just these two doors here are an event, an architectural event, and it's mainly because of the ornaments. I mean, they are very beautifully designed, I would say. It's lace work, it's an embroidered work. You see, this is what the French critic Boileau meant when he said the good work has l'esprit de géométrie and l'esprit de finesse, the spirit of geometry and the spirit of fineness. You know, you have geometry here, it's a cube, but then you have these interventions which are about graceful forms. It's about fineness, and you need both. This is another famous building in St. Louis by Sullivan or Adler and Sullivan. Here again, like in the building in Buffalo, you see the ornaments. You know, taking care of the facade, so to speak, in a less wild way than in Buffalo, but still. What is the cornice? Well, it's the transition from the work of man to the work of God, to the sky. So it's supposed to be in a certain way. You can't just, you know, it has a meaning, you know, and it had in ancient architecture and should in modern architecture as well. Whatever the defenders of Terra Jardin might say. This is also a great building. It really is. It's very modern. It's very solid, but it has also a level of sensitivity which is to be acknowledged. Would this building be the same if the ornaments were not here? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't think so. No. I'm not saying that any ornament applied to any building should work. Could work. No. He found a way in which the ornament is intrinsically and organically connected with everything else. So let me see what this is considered. Somebody wrote about this tomb that is like the Taj Mahal. Come on, of St. Louis. Really, this is unbelievable. How could you compare this with the Taj Mahal? But this is what the journalists do, you know, scandalous, you know, little writings. A masterpiece has been called the Taj Mahal at St. Louis. Really, it's ridiculous. Don't compare this with the Taj Mahal. It's a nice work. I admire Sullivan and Adler, but don't compare it with the Taj Mahal, really. The Taj Mahal of St. Louis. Anyway, I mean, in black and white, it looks even better. I like this picture, but it's not the Taj Mahal of St. Louis. No, it's a good mausoleum by Adler and Sullivan, but it's not the Taj Mahal, really. I'm sure Sullivan would have protested this description. The Union Trust building, the ornament heavily altered in 1924. That's too bad, but insensitive. But look here, you know, the embroidery, architectural embroidery. I like this. You know, they They bring sensitivity to the skin of the building. It's important. Now that's how it was. It was affected by so-called improvements or whatever. Then you see shops for rent. The the troubles of capitalism. Economic crisis and whatever. And then the building at one point is destroyed, of course. But look at these ornaments. Again, ornaments. A little beast, the head of a beast there. What? Why? Well, we should ask Sullivan. The Guarantee Building, well, we already saw some pictures of it in Buffalo. This is that building that wanted at the corner to become a tree. And it's a wonderful building. I mean, even this picture, it's simple, it's complex, it's abstract, it's modern, it's ancient, it's everything. And the structure used to be an innovation, steel structure, modern construction, and that's what he look at it. Look how it was built. That's almost space age technology in a way, and then it was covered in a more acceptable way, and then the ornaments became something else. The longings of Louis Sullivan towards a different kind of world. Why are these things not discussed in school? This is my question. Why? I mean, he's one of the truly of the paradigmatic figures in modern architecture. If we don't talk about someone like Sullivan in 6 long years of study, I don't know about what else we talk. Look at these ornaments, about which nothing is being said in school. Nothing. 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 Nothing again and again. Nothing. Nothing. Even in the interior or the exterior, no, this doesn't interest us. This is not about us. We are moderns, and the father of modernism was not modern. No, this is not by the father of modernism, right? Of course it is. This also. Why did he need embroidery here? Because that's what it is, embroidery. Why? Why here? Why here? Why here? Why here? In an outrageous way. Outrageous. What do you mean to make the corner of the building a tree or tree-like? This man was mad. Buildings 18. They split. Adler and Sullivan, and that was the beginning of the end, because I mean, you see that 256 total commissions is not really true. He built less and less, and smaller and smaller commissions, and Adler also fell apart. Their collaboration was great and had great success, but when they split, both men began to fall. But still, he built some buildings, and we are going to see them. This one, is you see already that it's a different kind of architecture, kind of more disabled, and there is a disequilibrium here. There is I think Adler balanced him. Then this is a factory. I mean, look at this. Can you believe it? Is this Sullivan? Is a depressed Sullivan. Sullivan, when they split, Adler and Sullivan, I think a tragedy happened for architecture. He still did the so-called jewel boxes, the 7 or 8 banks he did in mid-America, in the center of in some more smaller places. Those are nice, but we'll arrive at them. The Hebrew Manual Training School. Here there are, yes, some things, but still, almost repeating himself, and not really glorious. A company store, this one, I think, was destroyed. and very sad, because in my opinion, even the worst building of a great architect should not be destroyed, because a great architect or a good architect has something to say, even if it is a failure. There is something there, I like to think. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think. Another warehouse, you can see already they built, that incredible, those incredible buildings in Chicago, the theater, and the department store, and now warehouses. This one is a house also known that this is an interesting house, though, because here Frank Lloyd Wright apparently had a role in this house. So the James Charnley House, also known as the Charnley Persky House, is the museum foundation and the national headquarters of the Society of Architectural Historians. That's what it is now. In this picture, you don't see very well or you don't have the intuition of Wright's participation, but it was refurbished, and especially inside, you can see that it's a different hand there somehow, a vigorous hand, and it seems the impact of Frank Lloyd Wright was high in this house. Here, it's a resolute design that shows the fresh blood, so to speak, of the newcomer of Frank Lloyd Wright. Was at that time was Frank Lloyd Wright and not Frank Lloyd Wrong, as some of his students used to call him. Maybe he was never really, so wrong as the malicious apprentices or students of his call him. Anyway, this is also in Chicago, and now we arrive at the Adler Sullivan residence, also in Chicago, a little house which I think was destroyed. All in all, I mean, even this house shows depression. I think he was the depressed man. I think after the departure of Adler, which was so fruitful, he became more and more disoriented. Yes, there are some references to his past work, but it's not very convincing. No. Another building, Sullivan's only building in New York. Is true. This is the only building he built in New York with a glazed terracotta curtain wall expressing the steel structure behind it. It's whitish, the building. But somehow, I don't know, even here, the ornament becomes decorative in a bad sense somehow. Yes, maybe, I don't know, maybe someone could write a doctoral paper about the ornaments of Sullivan and trace even some signs of depression. I feel he was depressed. I don't know why. At this point, I feel maybe it's me who is depressed, which is very possible. Anyway, but we see here, and why not, think of, why not incorporate in our buildings here and there something to outrage. For example, if you make the house for a disabled man, for a handicapped man, as I learned a student is intending to do, why not maybe say something in a narrative way, maybe in an abstracted way, in a symbolic way about his life on the facade of the building, in a secretive way that only the authors of the project would know what that is about. Commercial loft of Cage Brothers also. Now this one, what can we say? It's a fine building, but look here at the top. The top of those thin verticals. Look what's going on here. Why? Holy Trinity Russian Orthodox Cathedral and Rectory is a small church, a Russian Orthodox church. I wouldn't call it a cathedral, but that's how it is called. Interesting in a way, a little too picturesque perhaps, maybe. But it's a building by Sullivan, alone, without Adler, the engineer. Okay. Now this is the building, famous building that we looked at previously, the Carson. I never knew how to read the second word, to my shame. Pyrie Scott store, originally known as the Schlesinger and Meyer store, now known as Sullivan Center. So this is the Sullivan Center that we looked at before, which is really, this almost looks a little bit like a building by Eric Mendelssohn, but with that fantastic entrance in the corner, so ornamental. It's a famous department store in Chicago. Yeah, it's easier to remember it as the Sullivan Center, of course. Now, even the building, the so-called modernistic building above that entrance, is even here there are ornaments. So things are not so simple as they appear from a distance. College in Tennessee, but I didn't see pictures of them. And now in Iowa, Van Allen building. This is typical of Sullivan. You know, every time he introduces an ornament, the building escapes the level of prose and becomes, is the sensitivity of his ornaments which elevate, I think, even the most banal building to a higher level. It's not a great building, but those things there are a sign of a longing for something higher, so to speak. Look at this. It's an homage to nature and in a way to God. No, this thin column culminating into a tree-like form. A church, rather big. He continued to build, but somehow I feel his most glorious part was associated with Adler, and although Adler was the engineer, he didn't work on the aesthetics of the buildings, but somehow the collaboration produced great works. This is also an interesting building, I would say. Clearly more modern, so to speak, besides that tower, which is that campanile, which is a little bit, passeistic, so to speak. This music store, we already saw some pictures from 1922. He worked only on the facade, actually, which has a lot of ornaments, but they are grayish. I think he also began to drink, and I think heavily. So Sullivan was a troubled man. Banks. Now these banks that he built in his later period in life. Are some of them are very beautiful, and they are considered architectural jewels. So by the end of the first decade of the 20th century, Sullivan's star was well on the descent, according to whom? Well, this is from Wikipedia. And for the remainder of his life, his output consisted primarily of a series of small bank and commercial buildings in the Midwest. Yet a look at these buildings clearly reveals, sorry about according to whom, that Sullivan's muse had not abandoned him. When the director of a bank that was considering hiring him asked Sullivan why they should engage him at a cost higher than the bids received for a conventional neoclassic style building from other architects, Sullivan is reported to have replied, "1,000 architects could design those buildings. Only I can design this one." He got the job. So you see the importance of difference, to defend your own personality, your own individuality, and to say only I can design this one. Don't become one of those or 1,000 architects who design in the same way. No, be yourself. So today these commissions are collectively, is about these banks, collectively referred to as Sullivan's jewel boxes. All still stand. The National Farmers Bank in Watona, Minnesota, 1908. We already saw some pictures of this one. The jewel box, and it is a jewel box exactly because of the ornaments, mainly. Without the ornaments, would not have been a jewel box. Both outside and inside, these ornaments give richness to the building. Now he worked for banks, but I think he actually wanted to design temples or churches. You know, well, another bank, savings bank in Iowa, 1912. I like this building, and something very similar was built, inspired clearly by this in London, all in red. I forgot the name of the architect, near the Dennis Lasdon's National Theatre in London. Another one in Algona, Iowa, very small, but a jewel box. Too sad that the urban context is rather poor, you know, and there were probably some changes here, I imagine. Yeah. It still has nobility, because architecture is really about spirit in the end. And you can tell this building, look at this beautiful brickwork here. It's architecture. Architecture cannot dispense itself from beauty. No, no. Again, you know, I look at this and I look at the box by Lacaton and Basal, and somehow just this work here with the bricks inspire me more. The Merchants National Bank, again in Iowa, this is a great bank with a glorious entrance. I don't know about these golden hybrid animal figures here, but I don't know if they were like this. But this is beautiful. You know, if this was not a bank, this should have been some kind of a temple for a new religion, or for a religion for all people. A very fine building. Yes, it's a box, but he transformed this box into a jewels box through sensitivity and through very creative ornaments. You see this is architecture. Again, I don't know about these golden things here, but look what's near it. And certainly he didn't design these benches. No, they don't belong to Sullivan, but they were placed there. They are probably comfortable. The interior is fine too, and the lamp also, and you know, the decorations on the wall. Now another one from Ohio, Newark, Ohio. This one in gray, but it's more than grayness. And again, the ornaments save the building. I don't know about this column here. I doubt that this belongs to Sullivan. No, something happened here. It's very strange, actually. But the ornaments are obviously his. Another one, Indiana, that Chase Bank ATM machine is not his contribution at all, of course. There was probably a door, but you know, it's kind of ironical now that you have this, you know, sensitive and dignified framing, and then in the center you have what? An ATM machine. What can we do? Money is important. Here is an older picture. But we see again the importance of the sensitivity of shown on the skin of the building. Not in an excessive way, but it's important to make the skin vibrate, or even in the words of Stephen Cole, porous, a porous architecture. This is not really porous, but is the vibration of the skin it can be observed. Another one from People's Federal Savings. Uh, I don't know. It's something fed that Plus the name thrift, right there. When in fact this man was born to design temples, not banks, but that's what capitalism offered him. The thrift bank. Uh, it's rather sad, actually. He tried to bring dignity to an urban environment which didn't have it, dominated by the car, by the highway, by the look. This is about the car. There is no one on the street. He tried to bring dignity to this town, and did he succeed? I don't know. But it's a good building, and with a little bit of attention, it could have been restored to even a higher degree of beauty and sensitivity. Another one in Wisconsin, Columbus, Ohio, that the same kind of, so-called jewel box in the winter. Architecture here, no architecture here. But still, it's something sad. I know these towns I don't know. There is no. It's not real urbanity, And he tried to bring, a higher level of sensitivity here. But anyway, um, another one, remodeling. I think no. Here, I don't think I have a picture, and that's it. I end kind of abruptly and kind of sad with Sullivan because I am sad about his fate.